So we are from BC, Canada, where the date 420 is celebrated like a national holiday. And we thought, as sober people, we need a date where we can celebrate our sobriety and the people who have supported us along the way. So we came up with something pretty freaking special.
So on April 24th, Stay Sober Go Live. Use the hashtag just424. And this is a day that we are going to come together and we're going to celebrate. We're going to have fun for 24 hours. We want to know the most craziest, most fun experiences that you have in your recovery, and we want to know about it. So make sure you tag us. If you're supporting somebody in recovery, just stay sober and go live with them.
Hey, everybody, it is International Women's Day, and to celebrate, we have a very special episode. We are bringing back one of our old favorites with Thrive in Recovery with Amy. She was actually one of our very first remote online podcast interviews. So we're going to give you a little bit of the behind the scenes and then the full episode. Before we get into that, though, we wanted to chat about the women who have helped us in recovery and how important it is to have women in your recovery circle. Let's get started.
No question. The women that have changed my life are people that I've met along my recovery journey, and they've come in many different facets. I have been moved and changed because of the women that have had the courage to share their painful experiences and their brokenness, and then showed me how I can have fun and passion in life, and of course, turning it all into purpose, right?
Definitely. I think with my mom was actually the person who recommended me to get sober. I mean, a lot of people gave me the hint, nudge, whatever, but she was the first person I was able to get really open and honest with. I told her everything that I had done. It was the first time I really let all that out. And she said, you know, if you get sober, I think your husband will forgive you. And she had a friend of hers that had gotten sober and kind of led me into a 12-step program for my sobriety. And that's changed everything in my life. Without that, I would probably not be here today. So I definitely owe a big debt of gratitude, not get of gratitude, to my mom. And also my daughter, having her just completely changed me. I was able to have so much more forgiveness for my dad and for my mom for the things that, you know, I thought they did to me when I was young. I felt really abandoned and unwanted and not important. And, you know, once I held my daughter, I finally realized, like, they're the ones that missed out. Like, I would rather miss out on my parents' life any day than miss out on her life. Like, they're the ones that suffered and were hurting. And, you know, I'm the lucky one. So that was just so huge. And I have 2 sons before I had my daughter, but it's just, there's nothing like holding like a baby version of you, right? Just getting to love yourself the way that you've always wanted to be loved.
Mm-hmm. I totally agree that kids that have obviously my children too. I mean, they're older now. They're in their adulthood and they're falling in love and growing up and, you know, fumbling along the way. And it's been pretty miraculous being able to experience that sober and be present in the circumstances that they're going through. That's been a blessing. And when I first sobered up, nothing was greater than walking into the room of women. Terrifying. Absolutely terrifying, because I really didn't like women. I didn't want to have anything to do with women. But again, like I've learned in my recovery walk, that, you know, being uncomfortable is when I'm growing. And those women taught me that. You know, they taught me to sit down. They taught me to be honest. It was through their experiences that they were sharing, their pain and their brokenness, that helped me identify and helped me, you know, feel like it was okay to not be okay. And there was hope, you know, and women out there that are standing up and doing incredible things on platforms, like so many great podcasters out there right now, in all facets of recovery, and, you know, the community online, just uplifting people, is just, what a celebration.
Yeah, I definitely feel like there's more of a movement, speaking of my daughter, to really empower and support each other. I absolutely, in recovery, I hear it over and over and over and over and over and over again, women saying, I just don't get along with women.
That's right.
And, you know, I just connect more with men. But, like, if do yourself a favor, if you're in early recovery or you're saying that to yourself still and later on in recovery, like, just kick it out of your brain and start connecting with women, because there is absolutely nothing like it. Being able to learn to get vulnerable with women opens up just so much healing. And you cannot connect to a man the same way as you can to a woman. It's almost impossible. Well, from my past, it was definitely impossible because I need approval from men. I need approval from anybody, but but it's different with a man. Like I had a really hard time getting honest, especially towards men. With women, they kind of see through the bullshit. They've been in your shoes. They get it, and they're going to tell you like it is. And that's really important to have in your recovery. And you cannot go to a man the same way you can to a woman when you're a woman. Like you can
manipulate those men.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's so many different, like it's sickness.
It is. Absolutely. And this whole change with women also, I really want to, I had this conversation with my sister the other day, and now because the colorfulness of human beings, period. So if you are a person that identifies themselves as a woman, I love the WOXEN, which is taking out the M and just making it completely, what's the word?
Inclusive?
Inclusive. Yeah, that's a word.
Do they take out the M or the E? I thought it was MXN.
Oh, maybe. I thought it was, maybe I just made that up. I just started a new thing. I thought it was WOXEN. I'm wrong.
We'll look that up. We'll fact check that. Continue.
Okay, continue. I thought it looks really cool. I really like that WOXEN. Just take out the frickin' M.
So it is with that. We replace the E with an X.
Oh, wow.
To make it inclusive for anyone who identifies as a woman. So today we have a really amazing episode that we launched in season 2 with Thrive in Recovery with Amy. She does incredible work helping people in relationships in recovery. And this episode really inspired me, actually. I loved it. I remember sitting there and just, she has a way of just making you feel so good about yourself.
She talks about childhood trauma, like, some of the most painful experiences anybody can actually have happen in their lives. And somehow she just is able to have such a freedom of talking about it with no shame and no guilt. And she has some great solutions. It's just not talking about it. It's really transitioning into a new place. So I can't wait for you guys to listen.
Yeah, big shout out to you, Amy. Go follow her at Thrive in Recovery with Amy. And if you are in recovery and would like to get back down to basics, we actually have a free recovery planner available on our website. So make sure you go visit www.seekpurposenow.com and sign up for our mailing list so you can grab yourself a free recovery planner. Let's get the show started. You're listening to Seek Purpose, the podcast, where guests share how they have survived their pain, explored their passions, and found their purpose.
We are the platform that gives a voice to journeys of recovery and the opportunity to get inspired by those who have overcome their hurts, habits, and hang-ups.
You've found your pathway to recovery. Now it's time to find your pathway to purpose.
Subscribe to this show, join our online community, and become a purpose seeker today.
Good. How are you doing?
I'm good. Y'all are so fancy with your microphones over there.
Oh, we're waiting for things to get technical.
Yeah.
Because we're going to look back at these things in our mouth, like
our mouth.
They're kind of in your mouth.
But eventually they'll make podcasts so we don't even have to have these.
I know.
I think so. It's going to be like all digitally Bluetooth and wireless.
They'll just have like microphones implanted into our face or something.
Yeah.
Like instead of a nose ring, it'll be a microphone.
Oh, that's
that. There you go.
Ring. Oh,
Definitely.
New business idea.
Yeah.
How
are you, Amy?
I'm doing well today. Yeah, it's been a nice kind of full moony day. I was ready there's just been so much happening. And I mean, I really get a taste of it from lots of people's different lives because I work so close with people. So I'm like, wow, this is collective energy going on around here.
Yeah, there's something strange in the air right now. Not just the coronavirus.
Not just the sea, whatever. I have to be honest, I do a really good job of not consuming a lot of news. And I didn't even know that the coronavirus was a thing until Monday of this week.
Really?
Jeez. I kind of was like that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was. I don't like watching the news, and my husband's like, "Oh, Italy just shut down because of the coronavirus." And I'm like, Well, I was at the hospital like a week ago at Vancouver General, and I was told from the nurse talking about some coronavirus and not to be worried. And I'm like, what's that? She's, oh, then don't worry about it. You don't have to worry about anything. And then he's telling me Italy's being shut down. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's causing a lot of anxiety, I feel like, in people, though. And
so we're going to get into it.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. You ready?
This is actually our first time doing a remote podcast. So we're like super excited to see how this turns out. And
I'm old school. I have like a little thing. Go Hollywood.
Yay.
Yeah, I used to work in the wedding industry, and I'd put a little microphone on a bride, and I had to go buy a white tip because all you see is this little black mark on their boob in all their photos for their wedding.
Oh,
so it's the same kind of microphone.
One day, I actually started a podcast last week.
Oh, no way.
Oh, you're kidding. That's great.
That's so exciting.
Yes.
What's it called?
Called The Optimized Life.
Oh, awesome.
I'll have to write that down.
The Optimized.
I'm doing it with a girlfriend, and she's a sober woman as well, and we're really talking about all the different modalities to optimize and centering a lot around what has helped us, which is a lot around gut health and things like that. So.
Right. Oh, cool. I'm just actually getting into all that right now.
Oh,
I've taken some probiotics.
I'm getting out of all that.
I know. Well,
yeah, I am. All my sobriety. I mean, talk about my real. Actually, we should be recording this.
We are recording.
Oh, we are.
Yeah, we've been recording the whole time.
Okay, she's recording. There you go. Yeah, no, as far as
all together.
Yeah, the gut health or whatever what you guys are. What is it? The gut health?
Gut health.
Yeah, gut health. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, we can get into that in a bit.
Yeah.
All right, let's get started.
Invite all the things.
Yeah. Bring all the good energy. Yeah.
Hey, everybody. I'm Brooke.
Hi, friends. I'm Suzanne.
And this is Seek Purpose, the podcast. We are so excited to introduce our live guest from out of town today, our first time recording an out of town guest. Her name's Amy, and I'll let you introduce yourself for all our listeners that don't know who you are.
Awesome. Thank you so much. It's a delight to be here. And I love seeing your happy, smiling faces on the other side of this. And I love that we get to do this from anywhere in the world. So hi, y'all. My name is Amy Guerrero, and I am a trauma-informed recovery life coach. I live in a small little town outside of Los Angeles called Topanga Canyon. And I've been in California for a long time. And I'm so happy to be here because purpose is my favorite subject.
Oh, right on.
Yeah, that's what we're finding, hey?
Yeah.
So inspiring how we've all had just such a place of brokenness and darkness, and, in those moments we're so hopeless. And yet there's so many out there that, like yourself and us, that have come through the other side to be able to share those journeys and finding, our purpose. Yeah. And that's why we're excited to get to know you and your story.
And it's really cool how we have this new media to be able to share our stories like this and open up. And that's actually how I met Amy. I was watching her go live on Instagram, and I just loved your message, and I loved what you had to share. And we're so glad to have you here.
Yes, I know. It's so cool when that connection happened so fast with us, and we were just like, yes, yes, yes.
That's awesome. Well, let's get into it. Why don't you share your story with our listeners of what life was like before sobriety, and then what kind of brought you to where you are today?
Absolutely. So life before sobriety was actually not bad. I'm going to tell you, I've been seeking my whole life. I had a lot of trauma growing up, and I knew that things were different for me and that I was processing it different. So I knew very young that I don't really think or feel like the rest of my family. I seem to be a little bit more sensitive. They seem to be able to tolerate and move past things in a way that I'm unable to. And I, of course, you are where you are when you're little. And so it's like, okay, just deal with what you have. So with that, I created a lot of resilience, and I learned to escape my feelings by working really hard. So I started my first business in high school. I was like a manager at a Sonic, in high school. I learned how to make a lot of money, how to kind of feel like I had purpose, although it was outside of me, and stay really busy, not feeling my feelings. And I started drinking really young. I grew up in Texas. So I did find alcohol and drugs younger, and they worked. You know, it was the easy button to not feel my feelings. And so, you know, I did the things. I did all of the things that like any teenager did, any high school kid did. I might have done them a little bit harder, but I also recovered really fast because I was resilient. You know, I mean, it just worked out for me. So my whole life, I kind of got by as a super high functioning person who used alcohol and drugs as my coping mechanism. But I also found yoga over 20 years ago. And I also found meditation over 20 years ago. And so I was the girl who would, you know, have cocaine around my nose and show up literally to teach yoga.
That's cute.
The
new fad.
Yeah.
Hold on, I'm proud of my nose for my yoga class.
Yeah. And teach yoga. You know, I mean, I would stay up all night, and I thought it was okay because I was functioning. You know, everything was working out. Well, I mean, my whole life story is kind of like that. I knew that something was really not settled within me. Something was really missing. I learned how to seek it outside of myself instead of inside from within. And I just thought like, oh, I'm just going to live like this forever. Well, then around 37, I got this idea. I'll never forget I was working with a healer at the time, and I was with a man that we were contemplating like where our relationship's going. He was really supporting us. It was like we used a lot together. We had a lot of fun together. And it was like, Amy, you got to decide if you want kids or not way before 40. So start going on the journey now. And as part of that process, I was like, I'm going to heal all my trauma before I turn 40. And so I literally like wrote that down and was like, okay, these are all the things that I have to do to heal before I'm 40. So I skate into my 40s like, awesome. Well, about 3 months into this journey, I started I don't even know. It's just like things clicked, and all of a sudden all I could do was cope with alcohol. And I woke up one day just like physically dependent on it and totally confused.
So you kind of found it progressed. You kind of found that it progressed. Would you classify yourself or call yourself an alcoholic, or do you believe in the disease of alcoholism, or is your concept more that you chose alcohol and drugs to sedate your emotions?
Yeah. So, I mean, I believe in a lot of things. My concept for me, and especially because I come from the trauma-informed lens, is that I created a pattern to survive. And the pattern included coping outside of myself. And I used alcohol, I used drugs, I used men, I used distraction, I used busyness, I used dark chocolate sometimes today. You know, I've been
shopping,
yeah,
television, food.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm pretty good about not television, but you know, every once in a while I'm like, I had way too much dark chocolate because I didn't want to feel something. I was avoiding feeling a feeling. So yeah. When I woke up dependent on it, I was totally confused and scared, and called some friends and was like, I think I researched how to do an at-home detox because I was a doer. I was like, I know how to fix this. You know, I have a lot of emotions. I'm trying to heal my trauma. I just met my birth mom. I'm doing all these things. So I lived in San Francisco at the time. My friends drove from Los Angeles. My dad came in. I was like, we're just do a little detox. I'll be fine. Well, that worked out. I did detox on my own, only to find out that, you know, it's real. The phenomenon of craving is real. And I still didn't have anyone to support me to really get to the root cause of my trauma. And when I would go into, that started like 2 years of me trying to kill myself. Because I had a really hard time with the masculine energy and the concepts behind addiction and recovery. You know, it was just like, you are wrong, you are bad, you are broken, is what I kept hearing. And I was like, I've got trauma and no one's really holding the space for me to process this. And they're like, well, you have to admit you're an alcoholic and you got to do this. I'm like, fine, I'll do that. So I like rocked the 12 steps. I rocked the smart recovery. I did all the things. I had sponsors. I had, you know, mentors. I had all the stuff, but still none of them were qualified to help me get to the root cause. So when things would get really raunchy again, I was like, screw it. I'm just going to die because it really clearly no one can help me. Like I had this very black and white thinking at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I got here, which is an amazing journey, because what I realized on my journey was that something didn't exist that I really needed. It was really hard to find. And I had to gather bits and pieces of all these different modalities to find my own path of purpose, which was inside me. I just needed some guides to help me along the road to go like, Amy, come this way. There's nothing wrong with you. You're not broken. Just keep coming this way, and learn to listen to yourself. Really, truly learn to listen to yourself and trust yourself. And, you know, I would say definitely my whole life, no one taught me to trust what I know.
I think it's so interesting when so many people, your story is so similar to the listeners that are out there that are in recovery, and they come in and you're so broken. So it's so easy to actually fix the first thing, which is usually the drugs and alcohol, which usually take us out the hardest and the fastest. And then once that's all kind of, you know, out of our systems and we're living and we're able to get back on our feet, then all of a sudden all these other things come up and the trauma does come up. And so many, I know from my own experience, I've been in recovery many years, and you know, people are like, I've been 2 years clean, and I'm like, I'm still freaking bawling in the parking lot as I'm picking up my kids. What's going on? Like all of a sudden we're unthawing. And you know, and so often people don't talk enough about those periods of times that we really need. It's not just a quick fix. You really need to get involved and dig in and get outside help and really open up your window, like you're saying, with using different aspects of available recovery to treat trauma, and knowing that what you're doing with women and men, I'm guessing, like families, is really why I'm so excited about having you here, because it is important that we talk about what happens after we stop drinking and drugging and all that shit comes up, right? Am I allowed to say shit?
I think so.
I just did.
It's your podcast.
Sorry. But anyways, yeah.
I really resonated with it. You talking about how you're you don't trust yourself when you come in, when you're a recovering alcoholic addict. It's like, all my ideas suck. Like, it got me over there and I don't want to go there ever again. So I'm not going to listen to my own brain, trust myself, and like someone else take the wheel. And, you know, you're just looking outside of you again for all the answers. And like, I personally put all of my fate in someone else's hands and just like, okay, you tell me what to do, because I don't know what to do, and I'm just going to follow you. But people, I can't put anyone on a pedestal, because all of us are flawed, and people are people, and no one has my experience and what I went through and doesn't have the exact right answer for me. And I can't put that pressure on another human being. Like, it cannot come from them. So that's, for me, I have to like connect with a higher power and spirituality and really explore that and learn to trust that I can, I know that voice that's good, because I also have the bad voice that's like, just sit down and have pizza and watch Netflix for 3 days.
And from my lens, it's like, that's just a pattern that's kept you alive. And it's the dominant pattern. It's the pattern that has a paved way. So if you're on a hiking trail, then you know which way to go, because that trail has been paved. But sometimes you want to go off because there's a better view of the ocean over there, and you can see it, and you know people have gone down it, but you don't have the lived experience of going down it. So you stay on that other path, and pizza and Netflix is a path, and it creates a lot of comfort. And it creates that our nervous system is designed to go up and down a ladder, and it creates that comfortable ladder of what we call dorsal, or just like freeze. Like, okay, I'm not feeling anything right now. I feel pretty good and stationary. However, I'm not getting to my goal. And how do we learn how to practice emotional flexibility while choosing to live a conscious, sober lifestyle? That's really what I support people to take their life to the next level. And I love what you shared, that you've been in recovery for a while, and you hear stories. And so many of the people that I work with have been sober for over 10 years, sometimes longer, and haven't ever been invited to trust themselves and felt supported to trust themselves. And, I had to fight and argue and advocate for myself at treatment centers, because they kind of didn't know what to do with me. They were like, wow, you really know a lot, but you're not doing it our way.
And I was like, okay. The last treatment center I went to, I literally was so drunk. I blew off the thing, and I had all these notebooks, and I dropped them on the desk, and I was like, you have to let me do it my way. Like, after I detox, like, please support me to be able to do my food program, to do all of these things that I know that work. And they were really cool. And they, you know, I had to gain their trust, of course. But I mean, I spent 30 days there writing a lot of what I get to share now. I mean, every time I went to treatment, I was like, okay, I'm going to start putting this together, this way of life together, so that eventually I can share it with other people when I can do it myself.
When did you get to the point that you were doing it for yourself? Like, how long have you been in so clean and sober, so to speak, in the recovery community?
I started in the recovery community, well, a long time ago, because recovering from abandonment and trauma and all of that has been a big part of my story. So I've been going to some kind of support meetings for a long time, like since I can remember high school, college. I was already seeking, like, I need some help around here. When I chose to, well, I didn't really choose the first time. In 2014 was the first time that I detoxed myself, and then started attending 12-step groups and treatment centers after that. And in June of 2016 is when the last time I tried to kill myself, and then was like, okay, I'm done. This is it. I'm going to figure this out come what may, because there was no reason for me to have lived through the things that I lived through. Like, I took the perfect amount of everything. The ER doctors would be like, we're not sure how you're still alive. I'm like, oh, dang it. I got to live like I've never lived before if I'm not going to die. And I mean, that was really my mentality not too long ago.
Do you balance still, like, if you come to a place that you still use your support meetings, but you also, you know, like, we don't just eat meat. We have, actually, I don't eat meat at all. I'm a vegan, but like, when you grab your dinner plate, so to speak, and you have a variety, you got to get your grains, and you got to get your dairy, you've got to get all of those things to make it a nourishing meal. I kind of look at recovery for my own self in that same aspect, you know, like, you have your support meetings, but then some people choose to go to church, or they'll go to yoga, or they'll have like a little bit of everything that you're actually, so you're able to kind of deal with recovery as a whole. Is that kind of what you're doing today for yourself, or what you're teaching others?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's a great question.
One or the other kind of?
No, I don't believe in black and white thinking at all, because that's a trauma response.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, whenever I come up against black and white thinking, I'm like, uh-oh, you know, I have amazing mentors that I work with on a regular basis that support me in many ways. And because I don't ever get consumed with the idea that, like, having a drink would be a good idea, or having some drugs would be a good idea. I go right for the root cause of, like, Amy, what you feel unworthy right now, what is going on here? And so I for myself am very careful as to what I consume in all areas of my life. So I go to whatever I need, and I believe it's integration. So ultimately, what everything that you talk about in your podcast as well, for me, purpose does not live outside of me. Purpose is not an action. Purpose is how I feel while I'm doing life, period. And, you know, sometimes I need a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and healthy co-regulation with these kind of people and this and that. And I'm not really sure at all what I need today. Let me go within and ask myself, you know, and then go get curious and test it out, because I don't really know sometimes. I've been, you know, doing a different kind of exercise program to really build a lot of lean muscle. And it's definitely put me on a journey of seeking and understanding, because, you know, every week as a woman, we have our hormones at a different level. And the week that my hormones are where there's a lot of estrogen, you know this, then I'm like, how do I eat properly to continue to maintain the strength that I've built? But, you know, so it's like, it's always a journey. There's no destination. You know, okay, increase this kind of fat. Then I developed a little bit of an allergy towards nuts. And so now I'm like, so the thing that I really want people to hear from that question that you asked me is that it's a journey. Mm-hmm. There is no destination. And you get to, what I always say is take what you want, leave what you don't, come back for more later. Because from that different new place that I'm at, I'm like, oh, I need something different now. You know, almond butter doesn't work for me anymore. I'm trying watermelon seed butter. I didn't even know that existed.
That's a new thing.
What?
Watermelon seed butter?
Oh yeah. It's really good too.
Oh, so coconut oil and butter or whatever is gone now. Is that like?
I don't think coconut oil butter was a thing.
Well, coconut. No, but coconut
MTC oil.
No, but I love the coconut oil stuff that you get.
Oh no, it's still a thing.
Put it on the toast. It's still better than butter.
Oh yeah.
What's that called?
But like peanut butter, I think is what you're talking about, right? Like a nut butter.
Well, I just developed a nut. I mean, here's the thing. That's what I'm saying. We're always changing. All of a sudden, because I overdid it on nuts when I first started this new program just in December. What is it, March now? So my body just developed a sensitivity to almonds. And I ate a lot of almonds. And now I'm like, oh, I can't eat almonds or I break out with something right here. So it's a journey, you know, and I'm discovering, I call it a discovery process. I'm discovering something about myself, and then I'm discovering something new about myself.
Right? I love that so much.
Your mind continues to stay open.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's the most important, you know, like, if we get into a recovery walk and we shut the door, so to speak, and live in this box, then, you know, eventually you're going to go nuts in that box. Because, you know, as you say, we are in a journey. Things happen. All of a sudden you're a parent. Next thing you know, you're a parent of a teenager. Next thing you know, your kids are leaving and you're going crazy. Then your hormones are going, like, there's always something that we're doing. So we got to keep the box open to allow what you need to heal and continue to heal on your journey.
Yeah. I actually just got, I've been dealing with a naturopath to try and figure out what's going on with me, because I've been seeing all these doctors. I just had a baby and I'm like, everyone's telling me I'm postpartum depression, but it's only lasting like 5 days to 10 days. And then I feel fine. So I don't want to go on meds for that. And what does that mean for recovery? Like I have all these things going on. So I've been seeing a naturopath, and then we've like kind of looked at it, and she's really thinking I have PMDD, which
what does that stand for? I forget. Do you know what PMDD is, Amy? Have you heard of that?
I want to hear from you though. Like, how do you respond to it?
Premenstrual dysphoric disorder. So I just like get into like super depression, real anxiety attacks. And I kept thinking like, shit, I'm not doing my recovery hard enough. I'm not going to enough meetings. I'm not doing this enough. I'm not like praying enough or meditating enough, or like there's something wrong that I'm not doing that I need to be doing to fix me. And that stuff does help. But there was also this other factor to it that now I've got some answers to. And so, I'm doing like an estrogen cleanse diet, lots of healthy fats, taking progesterone, and like, I don't know yet because I'm still in the same cycle, but I'm feeling a lot better now. So we'll see what happens next time it comes around. But it's just like so important, I feel like, to just keep getting answers, like going and like, I needed to know that. And I need to learn how to take care of myself properly with my mind, body, and spirit. And all of that's important to my recovery, I find.
Yeah. And to that little human that you get to raise too.
Yeah.
You know, that you're going to be able to give, that we get to pass this on and say like, you know, this wasn't available to me, and now this is available to you. And what the invitation that has come to you through this process is going inward and going on a discovery process of, no need to label it anything, because PMDD is something that gynecologists got really confused, and they're like, okay, let's make up another thing. That we're so quick to diagnose. We're so quick to put people down a pathway. And what I really hear from you is that you're like, I feel better eating like this. What else? Instead of that first part that came for you. And this is exactly what I do with the people that I support. That first part that came to you is, I'm not enough. I'm not doing enough. I'm not meditating enough. I'm like, you can't freaking meditate biology away. You can't fucking, sorry. You can't pray anxiety away. It is a nervous system response. And so when people are like, oh, you're not praying enough, I'm like, no, they're having a physical response that no one has taught them how to regulate. And when we learn to regulate at this high level and go, you know what, there's nothing wrong with me. I don't like feeling this way for 10 days a month. So I want to feel different. And what am I willing to explore in order to feel different for those 10 days? No one feels perfect all the time. Like, can you ride the waves of your emotions and go, I know where home base is. I know how to get back to what feels good to me. And that's going to be different all the time. We're so, conditioned to judge ourselves to what's wrong. I'm not doing enough. But that's a very masculine approach to it. The feminine approach is, let me add some avocado. Why don't I put this coconut on my toast instead of butter? That's much more gentle and loving and kind to yourself. And maybe, for me, it was like, that wasn't taught to me, to slow down, to get curious, to come into that. It was like, I had a business when I was 16. What
kind of business do you have?
I was helping people refinance their homes.
At 16?
Yeah, well, it's funny how it all started. Because at Sonic, because I was such a good car hop at Sonic. That people recruited me all the time, and I was like, sure. My dad was like, I think he's trying to molest you. He wasn't. He was a really good guy, and I learned a lot. It was cool.
Also at a young age, 11 years old, I was babysitting, or maybe it was 11 and a half, 12, babysitting, and I got so popular, and I think by the time I was 13, I was like hiring out all my friends, so I was like the bookie. And they'd hire me, of course, as they wanted me, but they didn't know that they were going to pick up Sarah, right?
I love it. And would you take a part of their profit?
Of course, damn right I did.
Girl, yes, entrepreneurs.
Yeah, you betcha.
Like the babysitter madam.
That's right. Yeah, should have done a brothel. Dang it. Yeah. Anyways,
next life.
Next life. Yeah. Good one.
You still got a lot of life. You never know.
Yeah, you never know. So tell us a little bit about your systematic therapy. So a lot of this lingo is coming around in the recovery community, and and we just had somebody on live this week doing sound bath, and we had quite a few views because I think people are just like, what is that? We've heard about it. So tell us a little bit about what does that look like if someone came to you and said, I want to use your services. What would they expect, and what's the process?
Yeah. So, I truly believe that every body is a unique body. And so at this point, the process for the people that I support is really a lot of individual, because like you said at the beginning, your history is unique. Now, are the modalities pretty similar? Yes. But the first thing that we do together is really get great context of all of the things that have happened in the lifetime of whomever, in the whole lifetime, and then in the generations before that as well. And the way that I like to put it is that we form little anchors of like, oh, well, that happened when you were 3, without reliving it, because I'm not interested in processing trauma in that way. I'm interested in taking action to get through it, to learn a new way, to develop a new pattern. So when we get all those anchors laid, then we together, because I guide someone back to themselves, right? Like the answers are within you. Intuitively, and if you're taught not to trust yourself when you're little, and then you're also, because of your family of origin, taught not to trust others, because you see a lot of fighting, maybe some substance misuse, some physical trauma, some emotional trauma. You're like, I can't really trust others, and I can't trust myself. So what the hell do I do? So much of the process that I take people through is just really learning to trust what you know, and providing the safest of safest containers to really explore that. And it's so beautiful, because in less than 3 months, what I watch people do, it's mind-blowing, because for the first time, they truly feel seen, heard, and felt, for them, not only by someone, but for themselves. They go and take care of the little girl, little boy, little person inside of them that didn't get their needs met. And really learning a lot of the learning that we do in this systematic process, but it's not a system because humans aren't systems. You know, like we try things and then we're like, oh, that's, I'll be able to tell very quickly what's going to work for their nervous system and what isn't. And I'm like, well, we're not going to do that because of the complex trauma that someone's had. You know, like for me, being immobilized for too long is not safe for me. So meditating, silent retreats are not my jam. Because I like to be moving. I need to know that I can move so I can get away. I always know where all the exits are. You know, I'm very hyper vigilant. It would be diagnosed or, you know, but that's not how I see it. Like, whatever. So the process that I take people on is really coming home to themselves and learning to trust themselves and drop some of the labels and drop some of that judgment so that it can be met with a new rewired way of thinking of like, oh, that's my pattern. Of course I do that. It makes a lot of sense. Now, remember earlier, I want to go down that new pathway. I want to go see the ocean. And I trust myself enough to go there and know that I'm going to be safe. And if I start to feel unsafe, I know what to do to regulate myself back to safety. And at the end of the day, the nervous system is just designed to keep us alive. And so it's been reactive, right? Like, oh gosh, I don't feel good. I don't feel good. Dark chocolate. I don't feel good. Netflix. I don't feel good. Call somebody. Get on Instagram. Do this. Do that. And it's like, oh wait, I don't feel good. I wonder why. You know. And then one question I ask myself, especially around these full moon / Mercury retrograde / coronavirus / all the shit that's going on in the world times, is like, is this my energy or is this the collective energy? And like, that's why something like a sound bath is such a great, I use sound baths all the time. You know, it helps move energy that wasn't mine usually. And, you know, I use all kinds of things. So I give lots of different tips and tricks and things, and it's really learning to let yourself off the hook because it's not your fault. You didn't learn these things growing up.
So when someone, you do obviously remote work with individuals that can contact you through Thrive in Recovery, correct? Yes. And so it would be almost like a Skype situation. Would you have, like, what does that look like? They call in and they be able to speak to you and they just go, hi, all nervous. And, you know, you kind of start that process with them that way. And you kind of take time to get to know them. Just yeah,
that's a beautiful, thank you so much for taking me there, because that's a beautiful question. And I think it'll help everyone understand this as well. So much of what we do now is online. So we meet on Zoom. And you know, before I start working with someone on the really deep work with the one-on-one work that I do, we meet and we get to know one another and we feel like, yes, this is the right person. And I don't make offers or, you know, put it out there unless I really feel connected. Like, this is going to be something that really supports you and you're ready for this. And yeah, then every week we meet just like this. And it's so cool because I'm able to see their bodies and understand them. And then you're in the comfort of your own home. So I know everyone's pet and I know their family because they'll come and say hi. Like, thank you so much. My mom is like, I've never been happier with her. Or the partners come in and say, like, I just wanted to come meet you because I got my partner back. Thank you. And it's so cool when you're in your own home, your nervous system can relax at another level just because you're home. And you know that you're gonna be able to get off and like be right there in all of the activating situations. And then in between time, I provide a high level of support as well. So it's not just once a week. They have access to me with a walkie-talkie service. So if something comes up, and so much of the work is done then, because it's like, Amy, I'm at the grocery store and this is happening, and you know, my partner just did this, or my kids just did that, or my dog's driving me crazy, you know, whatever. I mean, it's usually, you know, and sometimes it's just talking through something. Wow, I had an old remembrance, and we get to talk through it on walkie-talkie and really have huge, massive, like exponential sometimes. I'm just like, look what happened in 3 minutes. on a walkie-talkie that you were in therapy for 10 years. And we just unclicked it right there. And why? Because the nervous system felt safe, because we've cultivated a container of safety together. It's beautiful. It's really amazing.
So I noticed you had a new workshop out for sober relationships. Can you talk a little bit about that and tell us how you got into that? Why does that interest you to help people with their relationships and sobriety?
Oh, thank you so much. Great question. And I'm so excited. It's funny because you start on a journey and then you realize like, oh my gosh, this is where I do my best work. And everybody that I was supporting it was all relationship stuff, everything. And it's so funny because I just put this together. I studied interpersonal communication in college and was getting my master's in, back then they called it male-female communication. They would never call it that now, but just communication in relationships. And so I've been studying this. I mean, I'm 45 years old now. So it's like, it was just where I belonged. It was like, oh my gosh, I'm really supporting people to have healthy, thriving relationships in all areas of their life.
You found your purpose.
Well, my purpose lives inside me. But I found a really great thing where people like want to talk about their relationships. I mean, come on, it's what we live for, and not just your romantic relationships, but all your relationships in your life with your daughter. And, just when things come up and life happens, life is lifey. You just had a new little person in the world, like that you made inside of you. It's so cool. And all your relationships change because of that. And so, what I've learned is that if we didn't learn these skills growing up and we coped with our feelings with drugs and alcohol or sugar or food or sex or gambling or whatever behavioral thing was going on, then you go to have relationships without all that stuff and you're like, I don't know what to do. And I just repeat the same patterns over and over and over again. And I find myself in this loop and I find myself settling for things. Or as someone said to me, just like, scraping up the crumbs. And I'm like, no one wants to live like that. Like, if we don't get to have wine and marijuana and all the things to escape yourself, you want to have some healthy, thriving relationships in your life. And that brings a lot of dopamine hits and a lot of fun.
So when you work with the relationships and they start getting to that place of, you're creating yourself an understanding and knowing as far as what's going on. Oh, I'm feeling this. And, there's no drugs and alcohol involved. But now all of a sudden we've kind of figured out our patterns. So does that mean they can drink again? Which many people are listening out there. I don't know about you, but when I first came in, I was real young as far as getting into recovery and sobriety. And I was always looking for, okay, so if I go and do this, does that mean that I can drink again? Because that was always in my head, to want to be able to somehow fix everything and figure things out so I can eventually drink and drug again in a safe, moderated way.
That's a great question. No, I don't run into that. I mean, I find that the people, once you start really living on purpose and feeling good all the time, it's not common to want to start to try to safely put really poison in your body again, because that's just going to screw up everything that you did. So, I mean, I don't work with people that are super early in recovery usually. I should definitely put that, just let you know that. So if someone's just like, depending on who they are and what their lived experiences and their trauma has been, it's likely that if someone's still heavy into that heavy coping mechanism and still has the physical manifestation of it alive in their body, then that's not going to be the best fit for me, because we're going to go do deep trauma work and stuff's going to come up and they're going to want to have higher level coping mechanisms. Yeah, so I'm really conscious.
I'm glad that you said that, because that is really, really important. I know that so many people do come in and they want, like I was saying myself, like I want everything fixed now. I mean, I'm impatient, right? Like I just want to get to the next level. And it is really important that you voice that. I appreciate that, because it is very, from my own trauma walk and getting into the real hurts of my past and what really made my cycle start where it was rooted at. Took a long time to heal, right? And to recognize and to understand in everyday situations of what was going on. many years of sobriety that took to get me to those places. So I'm glad that you mentioned that. It's really important. So if you're out there and you're new, this is something to really look forward to, because again, a lot of our listeners are people who are in recovery for a few years, as I said earlier in the podcast, that, you know, all of a sudden they're a couple years, 3, 4, 5, 10 years going, oh my God, I want to blow my brains out. I'm ending up in the psych ward still. Like, what's going on? You know, this is something that we really want to encourage you to reach out on. You know, like for places like yourself at Thrive in Recovery that you can contact that can really get into the root of those things.
Yeah. It's so important. I feel like we're so supported in new sobriety, and there's so many resources like treatment, like you went to, and different detoxes and all that kind of stuff. But stuff comes up in sobriety after you've done the initial like white knuckling one day at a time, getting through, and then you're just like kind of left to live. And I noticed like all these things I thought were alcohol's fault kept showing up in sobriety, and I was like, shit, I am just a crap person. But I did, like, I've eventually have worked through some of that stuff. I've healed a lot of it. I mean, there's still lots of work to do, but yeah, it's crazy how much I thought, like, once I took alcohol away, I was just going to be perfect. Like, nothing could be wrong then. And I'm just going to change magically and be like a responsible member of society, even though I have absolutely no skills or any sort of mentorship.
Right. And that's the thing, is skills and mentorship, you know, that you never really, no one even gave you an idea that you might need in your life. Like, figure it out. And of course, if you're coping with things outside of you, which every human is. And, you know, something that's so beautiful about when we get to the root and we can really learn what the nervous system is doing, and we really just tune into that, it doesn't have to take years. You know, I mean, I watch people transform and I watch myself do it, you know, like I'll see myself in a trauma pattern, and I'm like, oh, wait, hold on. I know who to call, like, go to my mentor. This is happening. And then sometimes it's like less than a day that I've processed and come out the other side. And because you start to learn the process and how to take action around it. And that's the tool that I like love to give people, because I'm like, you don't have to wait 5 years. You don't have to wait 10 years. Like, you can have these small things. And just today, one of my clients was like, oh my gosh, you should have seen me regulate today. And, you know, and he's been in the rooms for over 30 years. And, you know, it's just so cool. He's like, I learned something about myself every day, and I just never knew this was going to be possible. And I'm like, oh yeah, like, so awesome.
I think it's different degrees, right? Like, you know, sometimes I have had, once you understand and you go through that trauma and you get to the root and you understand, it's like, check, yes, I know where I'm at. But sometimes it's really important because I still have moments in my recovery that are back, oh my gosh, here's this feeling again. It doesn't control me, but I've realized that the importance of just feeling. It doesn't have to be dissected. It's like, here it is. I know the root of it. I know what's happening, and nobody needs to fix me. I've already been fixed. Thank you very much. See you later. I just need to feel. Right. and I think we need to talk more about that as well. Like you were saying, like, I've gone 29 years sober, clean and sober, years of recovery, lots of trauma healing, lots of workshops, I continue to keep my box open, but some days I'm just fucking sad or I'm scared, and it's okay. Like, it's, and I think, like you were saying earlier, Amy, that so many of us just kind of don't give us ourselves permission to be able to experience what's going on around us. Like, we just need to have, that.
I just love what you shared. It's so true. And I mean, the less we dissect, you know, I mean, my process is like yours, you know, like, oh, I know what started it. I know what happened. I know this, I know that. And now I just got to sit in it for a little amount of time, and I'm not going to stop feeling it. That's what I signed up for as a conscious sober woman. I signed up to feel my feelings.
Yeah.
And I'm proud of feeling my feelings.
Yeah.
And anyone who ever called me crazy or any of those things, because I'd look back at my childhood and I was a little redhead running around feeling my feelings, and everyone was like, don't feel your feelings. Don't feel your feelings. Here's some Coca-Cola. Here's some sugar. Here's some.
What are you crying for? Stop your crying.
Exactly. And now I will like stand here, and all three of us, we can just do it right now. Like, I signed up as a conscious sober woman to feel my feelings, and it is okay. I'm safe to do it.
Amen.
Amen. Yeah.
So what does conscious sobriety mean when you say, like, how is it different than sobriety?
for me, it's exactly what we just talked about. It's like when I escape myself in any way, I'm like, hey, guess what I did today? I mean, I tell on myself right away for the little things, you know, like I watched 30 minutes of Netflix because I was avoiding a feeling, and I go to my mentor and I tell them, you know, or when I have a thought like I don't deserve to be heard. If I was having that thought, I would tell y'all, I'd be like, oh my gosh, I'm so intimidated by you. And just say it right there in the moment, just get it out, like really truly being conscious of all of those little things, because there's so much better out than in, I've learned. And getting to the root cause of all of these things provides so much consciousness, so much awareness, so much curiosity to keep the box open and to have fun with it, and to go, there's all these trillions of microbiota that live inside me that are telling me things and running the show pretty much. Like, let me go pay attention to them and be conscious of them. I mean, it all matters. It all matters. And I think I had this idea that I was going to be, you know, conditioned again. And I was like, I don't want to be conditioned anymore. I want to choose. And that's what consciousness to me means. And I let everyone define it themselves. I'm like, whatever. I don't care what you call it.
The journey to consciousness. Yeah. We should make a shirt for you for that.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll take it.
Private recovery. I love it. Awesome.
Actually, when you're just talking about that, it reminded me of when I was, for a really, really long time, I'd never correct anybody if they got my name wrong, or if they like said something or misheard me. I would just kind of let it go, and I'm just like, I don't want to correct them, I don't want to get into it, whatever. And I remember this girl I went to school with, she like corrected an adult because he misheard her, and I looked at her, I'm like, how did you can just do that? Like, it was so like mind-blowing to me that she was just being honest and like how she was feeling and not trying to like people please, I guess it was. I don't know exactly, but yeah, it's crazy how all that shifts, I find, when you go into recovery and you find out who you are and you really get down to it, and being like humbled and, you know, learning all these triggers and everything that come in, and the way I'm able to communicate now is just so different. Yeah, I don't think I could have said in the moment what was going on with me, like physically could not, or even have known what was going on with me before sobriety.
Yeah, and it's a secure attachment with yourself. And that's what we're all working towards. You know, the work I do is all about creating a secure attachment with the most important person in your life, which is you.
The freedom of that. Just the freedom, right? I mean, everybody's looking for freedom, looking for, I mean, hopelessness, but like, where's the freedom of just being able to be me and not being able to say, I'm sorry. What are you apologizing for, Suzanne? Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to say sorry. I remember that was my big thing when I came in, everything was a sorry. It's like, oh my gosh. And then I would just crawl in my skin, because how many times I would say, I'm sorry, not feeling good enough. That's all it was saying. Like, I'm not important enough. And today I am important. I don't need to apologize. I can take a compliment and say, thank you if someone says something nice about me, and that can be uncomfortable, right? Like, I mean, it really can be difficult to get somebody saying something nice to you, because we feel all those yuckies of that, you know, that trauma that, you know, you help people deal with, right? That's important to tap into so you can have the freedom.
Yeah, compliments and gifts are like the most awkward thing for me to get. Like, even last time we were doing a live podcast and someone was like, oh, you have a really nice radio voice and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, they probably all got together before this to like say that, you know, Brooke's kind of insecure and you should probably like pump her up just to make her feel good. And I wouldn't even allow myself to just believe what they said.
Girl, I get it. And I have to tell you, like, thank you so much for sharing that, because I hear that so often, and I do that still. Like, gifts, learning to receive. Remember, we were talking about the masculine energy earlier. You know, the world is pretty masculine. And I always remind people, like, even the men I work with, I'm like, be like the moon. Like, just receive the light. The moon just hangs out. And, you know, I mean, I still, like, my nervous system doesn't trust to receive sometimes. I'm like, oh, because I struggle, I don't like to be immobilized, because that happened a lot when I was little. And so to stop and pause and celebrate, not easy for me. You know, like, I am by no means figured it all out. Like, I still use my tools and go and ask for support. You know, I have a high level of mentorship because of exactly what you said. Like, I'm like, did they get together and decide that they were going to say that so that I would feel more comfortable? And I'm like, no. So, you know, and it's not about stopping those things. It's about how fast can you interrupt them and repair them. Because they're not going to ever completely go away. Because with every new level, like, you're a new mom, you're doing new things, you're on a podcast, you do have a great radio voice, and you're like taking care of your daughter and doing all these new things in life, and you have, you know, new swag and all these cool things. Like, we're always up leveling, we're always doing these new things. And my mentor always teaches me, like, new level, new devil.
Oh, wow. I like that.
Isn't it awesome? Yeah, because it's so true. It's like those root cause things will never completely go away because they're part of your being. And you can get to a level of healing where you're like, oh, whoopsie, there I go, feeling that thing. And how fast can I repair it and keep going?
Oh, I really love that.
So good. Oh my goodness. This has been so uplifting.
Yeah. I feel like I just had a therapy session. This is awesome.
Actually, it's really incredible how things are, because we did start this, as we've said, as a, you know, social experiment, and we didn't know where it was going. It's just incredible how each thing is coming around, and the more we're having people getting involved here at Seek Purpose, we're finding a lot of people are struggling in their, you know, years of recovery, and they're still feeling dark, and they're feeling lost, and they're, you know, all this stuff started coming up. And, you know, and this is incredible how you kind of came on board, and we started doing some research in regards to what you're doing. And it's like, now we can say, hey, contact Thrive in Recovery. This is what you're ready. It's time. Because a lot of times that's when things start coming. That's what I kind of got taught is, Suzanne, maybe it's time, you know, if I'm finding I'm crying every minute and I'm like a walking Hallmark commercial, that's in my recovery. I've been sober a little while, a couple of years. I remember my sponsor at the time was like, you know, I think it's time for you to check out the counseling, you know, and it's time. If you're finding that you're falling in those pits, whoever's listening out there, and you just can't seem to grasp a good, solid freedom feeling, joy, then maybe it is time to really delve into getting into unraveling, as you say, the root of the traumas, right? And
yeah, it's cool to have another person that we can offer to support our community.
Yeah.
And I just, like, honestly, I love your energy. I love watching your lives, and yeah, it's so cool. So where can our audience find you if they want to come and take a peek for themselves?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. This has really been a lovely conversation, and I feel so filled up from everything both of you shared as well. So first, I just want to thank you. So awesome. A great way to get to know me is I find that people want to see me moving around and doing my thing. So I have a lot of video on my Instagram page, on my Facebook page. I go live quite a bit. I go live on different channels, and it's at Thrive in Recovery with Amy. And that's the best way to get to know me. And right there, you can schedule a call with me. You can come a little closer. I respond to instant messages, direct messages, Facebook messages, you know, all of those things. If you're feeling that little like, oh gosh, I know that this is something I want to do and I'm a little scared, like, please know it is like, I will absolutely get back to you and come closer, because that's how it starts. And then we can go from there and get to know me. You know, like, I don't have any secrets at all. So you can ask me anything and I will answer it.
Actually, it's funny because yesterday, or we had a guest on our live. I don't know if you watched our live, but anyways, we had Sherry, and she, what was her name of her company? Anyways, she's going to kill me. I'm sorry, Sherry. She has these readings. Anyway, she did one beforehand, and she's like, are you sure you want anybody here witnessing? I said, oh yeah, Brooke can come, and Mel was here, our new producer. And anyways, so she does this reading, and she's like, well, I just want to warn you, it might be a little personal. And I'm like, I'm an open book. I'm good. And so I sat here. These two were like, especially Brooke's like, oh, what juices Suzanne got?
I was really disappointed.
She was disappointed. I was like, really? I thought there's some stuff there.
Yeah, not nearly embarrassing enough for me.
yeah, I'm sorry. That's what happens. Been sober for a while. Thank goodness there is. Yeah. We never end, because I obviously was crying.
Yeah, I've been really enjoying. We're bringing on a lot of different kind of healers, and and different energies into here and different ways to connect to spirituality. And it's been so cool to be on that journey. And I've found I really resonate with sound healing. I didn't even know it was a thing before. And then after that like mini session she did here, I just felt so like my nervous system had calmed down, and I just felt like aligned and connected and just like myself. Like I kind of just like, and I didn't think that would be something I'd ever be into. So it's really cool. And then I don't know, meeting you has just been amazing. I'm so glad you joined us here today.
Yeah, me too. And I just love what you said, because from that place where you didn't even have to do anything but lay there and let it happen, that's where the most growth happens. And that's a great explanation of what I do, is I provide the space for the nervous system to feel that good. So then we can take action from that place. Love it. What a great way to bring it all home, girl.
Home run.
Right. We have a couple of rapid questions before we wrap up and let you go for the evening. So what would be your theme song?
Oh my goodness. The first thing that came to me was that fight song. Yeah. I think because my dad liked that song so much.
Yeah.
Ariana Grande, I think.
Oh, that's right. Is it? Yeah.
Is that I'm All Right song?
Yeah, exactly. Take Back My Life song.
Yeah. Love it. What
Leona
was
Lewis, is it? No.
No. It's Ariana.
No, it's not.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Ariana Grande. There you go.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Producer Mel?
Yeah, I think it's Ariana. Yeah, I think
Fight
it's Ariana.
song is Ariana Grande?
I believe
we have a
so.
producer on it.
Okay.
Oh, nice.
All right, second question.
And our second question is, what was the last book that you read?
Oh, the last book I read was The Stillness. Ryan, somebody's called Stillness. He's out of Austin. Oh gosh, I don't. It's by my bed right now. I keep reflecting back to it. The Power of Stillness or something like that.
What is your favorite book?
Oh goodness, I don't know if I have a favorite book. I never prepare for these kind of things. So
I
know. The favorite book that I read recently, you know what, that I consistently go back to is Dare to Lead by Brene Brown.
Oh,
I really like how she put everything together there, and I just identify with her so much. And so if I need a little, I feel like I have her in my living room on demand with audibles. I'm like, Brene, give me some love, girl. Give me some love. So I do go back to that book often, Dare to Lead.
Yeah, another sober person living out there.
Woman.
Yeah, man. I love her, and like boundaries, all that kind of stuff. I'm like, I need all of it.
Vulnerability.
Yeah. Absolutely. So it's Rachel Platten is the singer of Fight Song.
Oh,
yes.
Okay. Now we have that.
Yeah.
Mel?
Yeah. And what is the next question?
What's your favorite movie?
Oh, yes.
Oh, Almost Famous.
Almost Famous. Oh, awesome. Yeah. And last but not least, your favorite emoji.
Oh, goodness. I think it's probably just the red heart.
Yeah.
It is.
Just send some love.
Easy. Yeah. I'm so old school. My friends send me black hearts, and I'm like, what does that mean?
Oh, that's awesome. I think that's it. Or no, what are you letting go of? That's the last one. Is what do you have to let go of?
It's so beautiful. Thank you for asking. It's a big year of that. That I'm unworthy to receive and be comfortable.
That's a good one.
Yeah, I can use some of that one.
Yep. Yep. Let's just
get that one off.
Every time the water, I'll give you all something I give to people. I like to take a bath rather than a shower. And when the water's going down the drain and it's circling, I'm always saying goodbye to it. Like bye-bye unworthiness, bye-bye inability to receive. And it goes down the drain. And I'm like, okay, another layer of it. I just let go down.
I like that.
Yes, me too.
Wow, this has been a really awesome podcast. I feel like there's so many great tips, and I'm just so excited that you came on and that we got connected.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks so much, Amy.
Yeah,
I love you. Thank you, producer Mel in the background as well.
Wonderful.
Ominous voice.
Suzanne and Brooke, it's so great to meet you and to be with you, and I look forward to more.
Yeah, we'll definitely stay in touch.
Definitely.
This has really been incredible. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Amy.